Hope everybody's having a good week back. We're already approaching the end of the year, that busy holiday time when I feel like all these weeks start disappearing on us in between shows and holiday and time off. These weeks really start to act strange at the end of the year, at least for us and me. Coming back from IT Nation last week. Any partners that were at the show last week? I'd like to hear any feedback you guys had. We had a good show. Saw a lot of our partners at the show. Always good connecting with some of our existing partners out there and talking to new ones. Heard some really good feedback, both good, bad, and in between. So continue to get the voice of the community from you guys that are showing up to these calls, that are showing up to the shows, and helping us propel the product forward. We appreciate you guys. So thankful for you guys that showed up and talked to us. Yeah, hey James, I remember the was a good overall show. A lot of vendors there. Wow, ConnectWise has really grown that event. Um, I think that was my, I don't know, 14th or 15th IT Nation that I've attended, and it has really come a long way. So I think we're a couple minutes past hour. We'll go ahead and dive in. Call is being recorded in case anyone joins the party late. Appreciate those that were on time and early. So we'll get started November 12th here again, rolling through the year already. So just a quick look ahead on today's call agenda. This will be more of a refresher call for the partners here. I unfortunately don't have any groundbreaking new features to unveil to you, but I am going to cover what we've already been working on and just recap where we're at with some of those new features. So in our product update section, we're going to cover some of those areas. I'm going to share a couple quick updates on what we're doing in our professional services offerings and where we're headed in those, and just share some updates with you guys. And then an upcoming education that we have coming up actually this week. So short timing. Um, so just before I kind of get into the product stuff, just want to reiterate the documentation is out there. And a lot of the stuff that we talk about on these calls and a lot of the features that we're doing are out on our documentation site. connectsecure.com/docs will take you straight to it. If you land on there or you're familiar with our docs, we do have a lot of different documentation out here. I've highlighted the two main ones that are focused on the product itself. So the very first application documentation is all about the product, and then the release notes are in there organized by month. So if you want to see what's been updated in terms of bug fixes or enhancements to existing features, you'll see that kind of in a timeline there. I want to call that out. We spent a lot of time in here updating this kind of stuff, so we want to make sure the partners are aware that it's out there and it's being actively watched. You can access documentation directly from the ConnectWise, or I'm sorry, the Connect Secure application. Got IT Nation on my mind there. In app, you'll find the help link coded on just about every single screen in Connect Secure. So when you're on a screen and you tap that help link, it's going to guide you straight into the application documentation on the page that you're looking for. If you find any hiccups, out of date things there, or issues, let us know. Let our support team know. We'll get it corrected right away. You can also access the release notes directly from the application itself. So if you're logged into Connect Secure, you can tap on that release notes. That's my favorite way to read the release notes. It's in a nice timeline there, and it kind of recaps all the changes that are happening. And if you know anything about Connect Secure and Cyber CNS, we do a lot of rapid development and a lot of changes. Given the industry we're all serving, we need to be on the cutting edge all the time. And unfortunately, we feel some of that, but the release notes is a great way to kind of drink from the fire hose, if you will, if you're trying to play catch up every month or every few weeks with us. So just wanted to call out those resources for you guys. And lastly, the YouTube channel. So if you're a video watcher or you like the YouTube and you like to see the video content, you can search us on YouTube just at Connect Secure. And we've got videos organized into some playlists. So if you go to the playlist section of the YouTube channel, you'll find, in fact, our US partner calls. So you can see here 27 times we've met and done a partner call. So all of those videos get uploaded. We also have regional videos in there, content videos about the product, etc. So again, a good resource if you're looking to catch up on what's been going on over the last few calls or months. If you've missed any, you can watch those along with today's recording once we're done. So just wanted to call out those resources for partners in case you're not aware they're out there. And now into the good stuff, right? The product updates, some quick features. So I am going to do a quick demo over some of the new documentation and AI report features. So again, rather than death by PowerPoint here, I'm going to switch gears. We're going to go into my sandbox environment, and I'm going to just quickly cover where we're at with some of these modules, where we're headed, and just again showcase and get the creative ideas flowing. And we're really looking for partners to continue to give us your feedback on these modules. I mean, we're doing this for you guys, so ultimately we want to hear that feedback from the partner base. So I'm going to slide my portal into the PowerPoint viewer, and I'm going to take this over for a minute. And I'm going to kind of showcase where we're at with a couple of these. So I'm going to start up at the customer level first. We're going to go over here to the asset documentation section. So this would be one of the views. And asset documentation is all about taking what we know is in ConnectSecure already. So the assets that you have in ConnectSecure, which would be all your agents, right? Or assets discovered by your probes. We bring those into a section where you can start to understand how much documentation do you have about those assets, right? We know that we've already got the technical information. We've got MAC addresses, IP addresses, and if you click down into any of these assets here that are coming in from the system, right, we've got all the technical details about these assets. These are your assets that we're scanning. So all of that info is kind of there, but we go a step further now in terms of what you can document. So when you're looking at an asset like a firewall, for example, I've got my FortiGate here. If I click down to it, there's the asset documentation now here front and center where I can tap again. This is where I can start to see more data about the asset, really more info about the purchase information. So if you've procured this firewall, when, where, how much did it cost? Is it under warranty? Who owns it? The life cycle of the actual asset itself. And you can create additional data to really start to manage the asset beyond just having technical scans of it. You can also store documents against it. So purchase orders are great things to have. Warranty documents are great to have. And just general documents are great to have. Those could include an SOP if you've developed an operating procedure on how you configure a FortiGate switch at your company. Here I've just got the actual FortiGate guide packaged up with this thing. So this was a 40F series. This was the actual guide in case anybody wants to look at the technical jargon specs on this thing. But again, those are some documents that I might want to store against assets, critical assets, right? I'm not saying you need to go do that for every device on the network, but let's all be honest, right? We have critical assets at each one of our customer sites that are imperative to our success as their managed IT provider. And I'm thinking those edge devices, I'm thinking about firewalls, I'm thinking about Active Directory servers, I'm thinking about core servers that run line of business software, right? You guys know what those things are. And if you don't, this is a great time to think about that and have that information stored. If you're not storing it, this is a great place to start acquiring a digital filing cabinet of all of your asset data. And we kind of get you started, right? Because we already know what's out there. So if you've come into this and it's blank for you, there's a bulk upload section here. And this is how you get assets into that view. So of course, we can do it the old-fashioned way with an Excel import. So if you're trying to get data out of other systems and you want to bring them in here and kind of start to centrally organize, this is a great way to go about that using the Excel and then upload it. You can also use our bulk sync option here. We automatically sync assets from your ConnectSecure environment. So if you've already got all those assets out in ConnectSecure, this is how you sync them over to here so you can start to then understand what's actually been fully documented and what's not. And again, from here, you can start to see that relationship status, and then you'll have additional details where you can edit these details. We also have QR code tracking and barcode generation against these assets. So if you're really trying to track things systematically, This is a great way to have a barcoding or a QR coding system against your assets so that when end users are calling in for support, you know what devices are there and what's under contract, what's under management. I think that's always a question mark for IT support. I know in the past I've been in positions where end users have called in about a machine and it's like, my machine's not working, and we spend 2 hours troubleshooting to find out that machine was bought, at the local retail shop down the street, and it was never really set up and joined to the domain the right way, and we wasted a bunch of time on it. So again, a great way to just kind of organize stuff here. Those are your two sections. And then lastly, non-IT asset documentation. So again, I'm at this customer site. They have non-IT assets in the environment that we may be working in or around, or just want to have some awareness to. So again, there's a quick bulk upload here where you can just grab our template, download it, upload it. It's very simple. And once that data is in here, you can start to see, how it's impacting these environments. Got a couple, samples here of backup generators or camera systems or access control systems, things that are in the network that don't have an RMM agent. They cannot be vulnerability scanned, but they impact your ability to deliver a managed service or a managed cyber service to a customer. We're thinking about what are those things in those environments. And I saw a partner using this really cleverly the other day. We were talking about like SCADA systems even, right? So devices that are non-traditional, that are a pain to put agents on and maybe can't be managed the same way. This might also be a spot where you can create some visibility to that. So this is at the customer level under asset documentation. We're going to switch gears and go to the global view of asset documentation. So now I'm just back up at the global view, and I'm imagining I have all of my customers where I'm starting to sync all of their assets. This is where I'm going to have kind of a holistic view of all of the assets that are out there and what actually has been documented. Now, from the table, I have the IPs where I can drill down and get to the data for these, get to those assets because they are linked. If your screen doesn't look like mine because you're here and you're like, hey, why does Ryan's look different? Remember over here on the column choosers, there are so many different columns here that you can include in this. So depending on what you want to see, how you want these columns to be displayed, you may want to organize your screen, right? And then save your table. Again, I have mine organized the way I like to see it. Others may be using it for different purposes. If you're in finance, if you're in sales, if you're in tech, you may want to see things differently. So you can organize them accordingly. But again, this is a nice view just across the entire portfolio of all of our customers. What does asset documentation actually look like? And what do we have documented? So it's a nice view. And then the flip side of that, which I think is what everyone's always trying to find, is what has not been documented. This is usually the stuff I care about more. These are the things that we know are in our environment. So I have these assets that are in Connexic here because we have agents on them or they've been found by our probes. And we're saying, hey, I see these, but they're actually not documented. So if I click on, again, one of these, so this address here, I can see this looks like a router. Again, I'm scanning it because the probe found it during Nmap. It's getting a vol scan. I can see it's got a risk score. If I go into the documentation section, though, you'll see I just got really bare bones information. And again, this is the stuff ConnectSecure is auto-inserting, saying, hey, I have some of this info, but we don't know about any of this other information. And until you go in here and update this or flag it with the info, it will remain as a non-documented asset automatically. And until it sees that you've got that information, it'll then flip it over to this side and say, okay, now I see all the other details because it is documented. So that's how you kind of move between the two relationships there and really start to understand. Again, the more important thing, are the critical assets documented? I'm not saying to go through and do everything, although you could, but I would be focusing at least on like all of the firewalls, all of the domain controllers, all the SQL servers, right? All those things that we know usually cause us problems in support. So that's your global view of the asset documentation, right? All right. Now we're officially switching gears to a new module. We're going to navigate over to company documentation. And this module is only found at the global level. So if you're in a customer, you're not going to see this. This is meant to be looked at from the global view, and we'll have a way to look at an individual customer from here. Again, this is all about documentation, providing more data to our system that we can connect back to assets, customers, their services, their vulnerability data, etc. So here I've got some examples where we're uploading contracts for our customer that are showing what type of service agreements they have, what type of support agreements they have, if they have NDAs signed with us, any of those types of contracts. And again, you can add them in here. We do have a bulk upload, or you can just come in and manually add them in. We'll give you some examples of contracts that we're seeing used: statements of work, maintenance, support, NDAs, software license agreements, or if you have some that aren't in there, you can use other and call out your own. And the idea, again, is just about creating visibility so that we understand what assets are going to be covered, and what does that look like when we're managing a customer holistically. And again, I can drill down into these agreements. I'm able to see the telemetry about what type of contract this is, maybe some of the billing pieces around it. And if I actually have an attached document, which we would want to have, I can access that actual agreement. So I'm able to come in here, pull down a document. Again, this is just a quick test to show you. But ideally, I might actually have the actual signed and inked copy there. So if there's ever questions about what's being done, what's covered, what's not, again, we've got visibility to some of this. And then it will start to track, of course, the status of those contracts. We use the dates to help us understand if they're active, expired, etc. You can also manually update those numbers. So it's just a way for you guys to, again, store and understand what kind of SOWs and service agreements are out there with your customers. Again, the uploading side, if you want to bring them in or upload contracts. And then the client portfolio is how you get down to an individual customer view. So again, remember, if you were using this and you had a whole bunch of data in here, your active contracts would be showing for all of your customers. Right now, I've just got 2 for Acme, so you're just seeing 2. This is how I could go down and say, all right, I just want to see one of my customers' data views, and I can filter it down a customer at a time. As always, that 3-dot action menu on the right gives you the ability to edit, remove, or view individual details of said contracts. All right, so this is your company documentation. Now, for those of you that, are thinking about, billing integrations, because some of this kind of starts leading into those areas, I know I've certainly talked about it with our team. I'm a big proponent of us, using APIs to be able to ingest some of that billing information from external systems. I see some chatter in the chat about ConnectWise. I'm specifically thinking about agreements, being able to, again, grab the data that's already out there being managed. If it's being managed somewhere else, we just want to understand what it is and keep it syncing in our system so we can, again, tie it back to assets and company documentation metrics. So this is the company documentation, all about SOWs and contracts. And lastly, I'm going to switch gears to a third module here, and we're going to go into the software asset management module. Okay, so this is software asset management. So again, I'm at the global view to access this module. We're over here under documentation. So we've got this broken up by tabs. The software catalog tab. This is showing you guys what software packages Connect Secure provides patching for. Now, a lot of partners have been asking about this and waiting for this to come into the UI this way, so it is here. So we have this all documented out in our patch management documentation. Right now it's a very painful Excel file, and it shows all these versions in there. Now we've brought that into the catalog view here, so you can actually page through it. You can search through it. If you're looking for specifics like, hey, do you guys patch Adobe products? You can come in here and say, yes, we patch Adobe. We've got 23 different Adobe versions we patch. You can see them and what versions are in our private repo. Again, this is the Connect Secure private repo. There's been chatter about Microsoft Winget. We do use Winget as a fallback mechanism for patching. But again, everything in the software catalog is in Connect Secure's private repo that our team is managing the integrity and availability on. license inventory. This is where you can provide in Connect Secure a way to see what licensing you're managing. So if you're looking for a way to bring all of the various components of software license that you manage, that would include what the software is, the versions, the licensing keys, the quantity, the cost, how many you've got rolled out. I mean, all of the things that you would want to know about a piece of software license, you can add that into this table. Again, there's an ad here, there's a sample CSV. We'll let you guys download that, bring that stuff right in, upload it. It's pretty simple. Only a couple fields required. But again, a way for you to start programmatically tracking what license inventory is actually out there, right? What are we supposed to have? What do we have? We'll assist you with some of that with our discovered softwares area. So this is a really powerful piece of software auditing, in my opinion. I don't see this too much out there. This greatly benefits all the MSPs that are using vol scanning. Now we're able to look across all of those assets and say, hey, look, we know about all the software that's installed in these environments, right? So right now, this is telling me 795 times I have software across assets in this environment. We're showing you what versions, what software, where the installation path's at, and when we see that actually installed. So again, we're bringing that software telemetry into a table so you can start to browse, export, and search through this and understand what actually is out there. And you'll notice again, there's IP addresses linked here, which leads you directly to these assets. So if you're drilled down to these IPs, this is the asset we found that software on, so I can start to investigate it further if I needed to. Of course, we have our software tab up here at the asset level. And again, I can see this particular asset has 50 pieces of software installed. There's that one clipboard that it's identifying. So again, we'll lead you down to show you where we're seeing software. And you would be able to filter through all of the software discovered by customer, by software, by address, etc. So you can easily find where that software is at across the customers if you want to kind of hone in on one of them individually. Software version mismatches. I really like this one too. This is a really great validation moment for your software versionings that are out there. So again, Connect Secure is saying, hey, I see 125 times where you have software installed that is not on the latest version. We're detecting this is the installed version, but you should be running this version. And that latest version comes from our software catalog repository. So again, if you think back to the software catalog, we know about these softwares and we know what versions we have. And if they're not up to our version dates, we're going to label them here as mismatched, meaning you're running an out-of-date software here. Now, that doesn't necessarily mean that it's vulnerable, right? It doesn't mean there's a vulnerability attached to it, but it does mean that you're not running the latest versions of it. So again, we're bringing that together here, same clickability down to the asset views. Lastly, in the discovered software is recently discovered software. This is looking at the last 7 days of scans and telling you any new software that it's found over the last 7 days. And again, if you can't remember all the words I just spat at you guys up here, all that's kind of recapped, hopefully in a more exact summary style. That'll tell you about these ranges. But this is where you can start to understand what software is actually out in those environments. Devices. This is where we're going to show you how many devices are running all of those softwares that we found. Now, there's one caveat here. You must have a department tagged in the asset for it to be included in this dashboard. So by adding a department in this particular asset here, I've called it accounts, you need to have a department linked on your assets in order for them to pull into this table. And what will happen is it will then display the assets and it will look at the count of CPU cores in those assets. So you can start to understand compute efficiency and compute specs, right? So if I have 800 pieces of software running an environment and there's, 96 CPU cores running it, you can start to understand how performance looks across the environments one versus the other. Again, just more telemetry to bring in across your assets, not required. User data. Here we're bringing in user or identity from Active Directory and Entra. So if you're connecting Connect Secure up to Active Directory or via Entra, we're grabbing those user accounts, we're bringing those into a table so you can start to see who those users are. If they have assets that are connected to their users, we're going to see them here. If you drill down to those assets, again, we'll take you into that particular asset from Connect Secure where that account's been logged into. So again, identity is starting to flow in if you're if you're integrating with Entra or Active Directory. And then lastly, the Insights panel, where we're taking all of the data that you may have provided in those areas that we just went through, and we're starting to kind of bring metrics forward about them. So how much software is installed across your entire system? So we see this much total unique versions across your environment. What's the cost of licensing? And again, we're bringing in these costs based on what you're providing us. We're not making those numbers up. If you provide us a cost, then it's going to get displayed on the insights. If you don't, then there just isn't any data there. And again, under and over license or over under deployed softwares based on, again, the telemetry you guys provide us, it makes for some really nice auditability down below once you start filling up that software and asset management section. The thing that I'm thinking about, the value is the under and over licensed areas where Connect Secure is saying, hey, you told me that you're supposed to have, you're supposed to have 34 licenses, but you've only purchased 2 of them. So you're under licensed by 32 pieces of software. 32 at $300 a crack means that we owe $9,600 to true up. That's the thought there. Again, we're just looking at what are you supposed to have compared to what we know you have, right? We know what software is installed. We're reading it. You're just going to fill that other blank in and tell us how much of it should be out in those environments. So the more fine tuning you do up in your software areas, specifically the inventory, the more accurate these tables and these audits will start to become valuable to you when you can actually really determine where you might be over or under licensed. So again, over licensed means I've purchased this many, but I see more than that deployed in the environment. So we're over licensed or we've over purchased. Again, nobody wants to pay for that stuff. So those are what the insights are about. So that is your software asset management sections. Again, we are still in early stages of development. A lot of partners are providing us a lot of really great feedback on this. I have been personally also digging through this, providing feedback, trying to play a role of MSP. So again, any partners that are using or have any feedback, I would continue to encourage you to share it with us so we can get this thing so it's extremely useful for you guys, because software management is a big pain. And again, we have a lot of that data for you. We just need to put it in, I think, a more tangible and feasible place. So that was our goal there with these modules and these insights. Last but not least, I'm going to navigate us to our to the AI reports just for a quick minute. Some of the new AI reports that have been released. You're going to go over to your customer views. There is also a global view. I'm going to just use my customer view in this case. Again, they're going to be found under the reports area, AI reports. You'll have 2 options today. We're getting ready to release some new ones. Don't have a timeline on those just yet, but they will be coming and you'll see them populate your system once they're available. You'll select the report you want. You'll use your next button. This will take you to basically the designer. When you first start off, the designer is going to basically just drop everything in this view as a default template. The default template is everything. We're just going to show you all the things. If you use these buttons up top, this is how you can interact with the designer. So you can hit clear all. This will take this thing back to just nothing. And now on the left, you can see I can bring over the things that I want to see. So I can just snatch onto the data block. I can drag it and drop it in the window. Again, if I don't want them, I can hit clear. This is what brings them back. If you hit apply default, this just puts everything back on the template. This is everything. So again, I can clear it, I can do all, or I can pick the ones that I want specifically. Some of these will have options as well. So like compliance, again, what compliance do you want to show? Before we just kind of showed everything. Now you can pick off the ones you want to see or not see. And again, not all of them will have those options, but some of them will. And again, you bring over the ones you want. Once you're happy, you can save these as well. So if you wanted to, customize or save these templates, you're able to use the templates here, hit create new template and give it a name. And you can save this template so you don't have to redo it in the future. You can also clear and start here and say, like, I already have this one built. I can tap exec summary. Again, it just brings the template in. So that's your basic navigation through the builder. Once you have everything in, just follow the next prompts to generate the reports. Those reports will also always be stored here on the historical side. So just like you're used to with our standard reports and the jobs area, historical reports are going to be kept here for any time you printed one. You can come down here, re-download those reports. For the sake of speed today, I'll just use it that way. And again, it'll print out that particular report that you printed, depending on which of the data blocks you chose, and the AI part of the report. So what we're doing is we're using an LLM, an AI, to take all the vulnerability data that we know about in the system. It is doing a review over it, and then it's creating kind of the more language based on what it sees in that data. So think of it as a level one cybersecurity analyst, right? Maybe level point 0.5, not even level one, that is reading the data just like an analyst would, and then coming up with a summary of saying, this is what I see from that data. So that's kind of what the intelligence part is happening there. And again, then that data gets displayed depending on what you've chosen. So if you haven't seen these reports, they should be live in production for all partners. We again encourage you guys to review the reports, generate them, give us your feedback on what's there, what's not there. We've gotten a lot of positive feedback from partners. They like the direction we're headed here. The one thing we've heard and we're aware of is that the ability to really customize those reports, the ability to white label them, to put your logos on them, the ability to change some of the wording. We've heard that message loud and clear, and I know the team is actively working on delivering customization options for you. So those should be coming in a future release. But that has been a lot of the feedback we've heard. So I want to kind of reiterate that we're aware, we're listening, and again, encouraging partners to continue reading that or continue to give us that feedback. Okay. All right, so that is our quick demo just to go over those product features. Hoping that was a good refresher or some new insight for those that may have not seen that before. We got just a couple quick slides here and we'll be done. We'll start to wrap up. Um, I want to call out a couple of our pro service updates. So this year we launched some professional services. We have an internal group of consultants at Connect Secure that are working with partners. And I want to just highlight two of the things that we've done that have made some really great traction. First is our certified administrator bootcamp trainings that we launched this year. We've already had over 140 administrators get certified to date over the last few months with us. Those partners that are joining those bootcamp sessions, we do an exam at the end, and we've had again over 140 so far to date that have came and passed on that training. We've gotten some really great positive survey feedback from those trainings. We really used some of those first partners that joined us to help shape what training should look like. We've heard loud and clear from the industry and from partners that they want more training. So this was our way of delivering some high level training. Again, we've got lots of free training available out on our Connect Secure documentation on our YouTube page. We've got your technical account management team, etc. We wanted to go a step above that. So that's what the boot camp's about. We've got two more coming up that are going to close the year out. November, actually next week. And then in December, we've got our final one for 2025. And then as we head into 2026, we will be doing most likely one of those boot camps every single month. So that is out there for those that are looking to continue training and maybe sink their hooks a little deeper into the product. That's how you can really get some skin in the game and learn. And an added benefit after that boot camp training is you will be automatically elevated to our senior and premium level support on any future support request that your team's putting in. So some good added benefits there. And then secondly, our consulting support team. Again, think of this as a co-managed service for the MSPs to extend your team's capabilities. That's what this is about, right? We want to help you not just be a scanning tool, but actually have a strategy behind it. So if you're an organization that's looking to build an actual cyber practice and not just run scans or do one-time assessments, that's what our consulting team is dedicated to, is helping you with a strategy and kind of build it from the base up. And obviously, we're going to use ConnectSecure as the enabling platform. But there's a lot of work that should go in before you start running scans, right? Building the actual policies, building the program out. So that's some of what we do in our consulting team. And again, if that's any of interest to partners that want to hear about it, talk about it, give us suggestions, or get engaged with us, we have an account manager team this year. So if you are a Connect Secure partner and you buy direct with us, you have a dedicated account manager at Connect Secure. You can email that address to get in touch with them. If you buy Connect Secure through the channel, like through Pax8 or SureWeb or any one of our distribution partners, you also have a dedicated account manager at Connect Secure, and you can get in touch with them with that same exact email address. So if you're looking to go further than just running the scans, or you just really want to help operationalize what you're doing, get in touch with our team. We'd love to help you guys. I know I've spent the last 15 years working in the MSP community, consulting partners in and around cyber, MSP operations, all of it. So it's not just about Connect Secure. It's really just about closing the entire gap on everything. And then last but not least, this week on Thursday at 1 o'clock, myself, our CISO, Brian Blakely, and Frank Bauer from Pax8, Director of Security over there, we're going to be hosting and moderating a webinar on Thursday that talks about how to translate vulnerability management to the executive level. So again, one of the things that I've heard this year, last year, and really over all my years is partners really want help on how do you go into talk to the executives that they talk to, the decision makers, right, at your customer sites about vulnerability management, right? They don't want to hear about CVEs and patches and vulnerabilities. They don't understand any of that. So we want to share some insight on how you can fight back against that. If you don't know Brian Blakely, this is a great time to get acquainted with him. Brian is, a veteran in the compliance space. He has some really really great methodologies and insights on how you can do this, and I think he spent the last 3 decades doing it. And Frank, of course, again, one of the veterans in the space. So I'm humbled to be on the deck with these guys. That'll be Thursday at 1 o'clock. So again, if anyone's interested, that's out on connectsecure.com. You can register for that stuff. It's also out on our LinkedIn page. Always like to get in front of the partners and share education. So that is our wrap up today. So that is going to be our partner call for the 12th. I'm looking down at my timer and wow, I went about 40 minutes. So I know that was a touch longer than you all are used to. So thank you for those that stayed a bit longer with me today. I will get this uploaded. I want to make some time for chat. If there was any questions in chat, I'd like to just take a peek there. I did not look at it during that entire 40 minutes, so I apologize if anyone was chatting at me. I did not ignore you. But I will look up Shirkan. I don't know if you want to call out anything specific or I see a lot of chat out here actually. Let me take a quick peek here and bear with me guys, and I will just make sure we didn't really miss anything big here. So I'm just kind of reading back up from our top. Lots of AI transcribers in this meeting, I noticed. That's cool. um, So James asked about asset documentation. We have the majority of that info in ConnectWise PSA. Ha, no surprise there. Will there be an integration set up at some point so we can, again, now we're not duplicating efforts. I see an upvote there. I see a thumbs up there. I would also upvote that. Our team is definitely well aware of ConnectWise's, presence in this space, what that data might look like for other partners. Myself, I spent 9 years at ConnectWise as a consultant, so I'm very, very familiar with what you guys are doing with that data. And it's definitely on our radar. So I don't have anything official to say yet, but other than I would expect for us to see some level of integration in the future, again, to make that easier so you're not having to double down efforts. I would never want to do that. Uh, Michael asks if non-IT assets show up on the reports, and do they affect the overall risk score average? And Barsha has confirmed that is not the case. So non-IT assets would have zero implication on risk scoring or any of that data. Um, yes, the software asset management that I showed off today, I should have said that first, is not production released yet. We're getting ready to release. We were still in the early stages of beta testing that with some partners. So thank you to those partners that helped us. But that has not been released. But soon you guys will see that show up in your portal. So now when it does show up, you'll know what to do with it. Okay. Um, yeah, so yeah, maybe by next week. So again, I see some more chatter about that software release. Thank you, thank Barsha. Thank you. I see a lot of the questions were getting answered there. Can software inventory be filtered by company level? So Barsha confirmed, Dennis, right now it's at the global level only. I would also upvote that, Barsha and engineering colleagues that are with us. We definitely want to be able to put the lens down to the customer level on global data, which I think we would expect to see that come. So that's noted, that's recorded on our call today. Yes, we always want to be able to do company level filters. I see a few more chats about that. Let's see, some of the corporate. So Bob commenting about the features that are coming out seems to happen like one or two. So individual apps. So Bob, good feedback there. Probably too much to digest on this in terms of what the future strategy might be for breaking out individual apps. What I will say is, at least from my view, I know the team's dedicated to vulnerability and compliance management at the core of our software, right? So we will not forget what got us here. We're all dedicated to making the vulnerability management platform the best it can be, and it continues to get enhancements and updates. Just not always new shiny features, right? That you'll see. Um, I know specifically a lot of the feedback I've heard from partners. I think a lot of the vulnerability management features are there, and I think we're partners are focused on better reporting, better performance and better reliability, right, of the data, being accurate as highly as possible. So again, I want to just say that I know from my view and from our leadership's team view, we are dedicated to not losing sight of what the core of this software is. We just know that we've got a very talented development team, and there are a lot of other ways to enrich vulnerability and compliance data. And so I think that's kind of what we're aiming for is how can we not just turn over a big giant list of CVEs and say, here it is, here's all the vulnerability data, but how can we start to really connect it to assets in the business and to the overall strategy for the organizations that we're supporting. So I just want to call out that we're not going to lose sight of that. But it's a great call out, and I'm glad that Bob you say that because it sounds like you probably value the same thing, is not getting away from what got us to the table. I like to say. Mr. Tim Soper, good, yes, good feedback there on the asset reports. Yeah, again, we want to make those asset reports the best they can be specifically for your auditors. Ultimately, right? If we can make the reports audit approved, generally that's what partners are after, right? Is making that process easier for you guys. So any partners that are going through those, challenges with auditors and having to turn over different levels of data on reports, let us know. Share that feedback with our teams. We are here. We're listening. We wanna continue to enhance that experience with you guys. So, yeah, hiding premium futures. Yeah, so Adam mentioned maybe hiding the premium futures so they're not there. I think maybe it's more about awareness, so partners know that stuff's there, but I can understand maybe not wanting to see it. So maybe there's a room in the future for that. Dennis, just reading some of your feedback, and Tim on the reports here. Again, noted on the feedback, guys. All of your feedback's being captured in the report, or I'm sorry, in the AI transcription today. So all of that feedback will make its way to our leadership and team members here. Watch A, yep. So that's basically what we're covering there. I'm just kind of looking for any other questions. I see Barsha, my team's been answering a lot of these, so thank you. Mark, thanks for the feedback. James for the feedback. James McCallum, thank you. James McCallum is one of the technical account managers dedicated to Connect Secure Partners. So he dropped his direct email and the account manager email out there in the chat. Thank you for that. And Kit, do we have a master script for install Connect Secure Agent on the Mac devices? Yes, we do. The Mac devices installer script. Since I have the system up, I'll just quickly show you guys. You're going to go into you have to go to a customer, go to the agents view, tap on your installer, go to Mac, and here's the bash script for installing via Mac. So that will be listed right there in the command terminal. You can copy it from there, or you can hit copy to clipboard, and it'll throw it on your clipboard. So that is the installer for your Macs. So that looks good. Looking for shell script. And looking for shell script. So I don't know if anyone can Barsha. I don't know if you have shell script or not. If you could provide that. I know we don't. I don't have access to that directly. Uh, James, I saw some back and forth there. Suppression question with multiple suppressions in Connect Secure is a report to view. Standard, yes. Nothing at the global, not currently. Okay, so yeah, we can see suppressed vulnerabilities at the company level report. That might be a good ask. Doug, thank you for sharing the install. I know he's looking for shell script. So I don't know if anyone has shell script or not, or I apologize. I am not a Mac expert by any stretch of the imagination, so I wouldn't even know the difference. But I believe I got through most of those questions. So if there were any that were missed from the meeting, again, please email them into us. Get in touch with our team, whether that's your account manager or our support team. You know, we want to hear from you guys, right? We're here to help, so let us know what's going on. Appreciate everybody's time today, and hope that everyone has a great rest of your week.
Take care, man. Thanks a lot.
Yes.